We have a shocking Jets trade update, as a report has revealed a new trade target for New York after Adam Schefter revealed a huge update on a trade situation, and the New York Jets and GM Darren Mougey are ready to pounce on this move, as they have Garrett Wilson as an elite offensive option, but after that, things get very questionable very fast, and we're going to break it all down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris and Matt here. If you're part of that 60% that isn't subscribed to Jets Digest, I don't know what you're doing with your life, because we got daily Jets updates. And look, guys, if you don't, Matt right here is going to be really upset at you, and when Matt gets angry, he breaks things. So you don't want to make Matt upset, because he'll start breaking things. But in all seriousness, let's jump into the video. We know that when GM Darren Mougey took over this team, there was a clear pathway to what they wanted to do, and it was very, very similar to the Detroit Lions. It was to make a culture, build a culture around younger players who would buy into this team and who wanted to play on this Jets team. And after that, you start to build on top of that. You start building this winning culture, building this environment, and then you go out and you look externally to find players, to find talent that's going to have a positive impact on this team. And obviously, Mougey has not been the GM for a single Jets game played. Same thing with Aaron Glenn. He has not been the coach for a single Jets game that has been played. However, already we have started to see a shift within this organization on how things are ran and how things are treated with this team. And all that even aside, because most people are doubting on that right now, the Jets have still been tagged as one of the primary teams for an absolutely elite player in Terry McLaurin. Now, diving into this, there's a lot to look at, but it was mentioned by Adam Schefter that there's an update that there's no update, which is the update. And that's the problem. The problem is, with this particular situation, I think Terry McLaurin is going to argue that we've seen other wide receivers who get his numbers are comparable to getting paid over $30 million this offseason. And I think the Commanders could say yes, but Mike Evans, who also has comparable numbers, is at $24 million. And Matt, that has led to a situation where Sports Illustrated mentioned the Jets as a trade landing spot for Terry McLaurin. As said by Sports Illustrated, General Manager Darren Mougey and Head Coach Aaron Glenn are trying to turn over a new leaf in New York. And what better way to do so than to get your new quarterback in Justin Fields a second high-volume target? Should the Jets pull off a trade for McLaurin, they'd pair him with young star Garrett Wilson, who has totaled 1,000-plus yards in each of his first 3 seasons in the NFL. He would also bring in some much-needed experience to a team that's been longing for an adult in the room. Oh yeah, and the trio of Fields, Wilson, and McLaurin are all former Ohio State Buckeyes, so that's fun too. Matt, a lot of talk regarding Terry McLaurin, a very talented player, and there was a trade proposed that was Terry McLaurin for a 2026 second-round pick and a 2027 third-round pick. But McLaurin, obviously a major target now that his contract is running out, linked to the Jets. In your mind, does this make sense?
Nope. And it's not because he's not a great player. It's because we are paying way too much in this hypothetical trade. We've seen young, up-and-coming wide receivers, when they get traded in the NFL, like A.J. Brown and like Stephon Diggs when he was younger, they get traded for first-round picks. So now Terry McLaurin, who is 29 years old today, September 15th turns 30. We're expected to pay a second and a third-round pick for that. That's too much for me. I understand he is a very good wide receiver coming off of many years of making the Commanders, Redskins passing game relevant at all. He's been a great player. His team, the quarterback play has been absolutely terrible. He finally got a good quarterback in Jaden Daniels and went crazy. He didn't only break out this year because it took him till he was 29 to break out. It's because he needed a real quarterback who could help him break out. But you talked about the contract negotiations, which are the most important thing in this whole update, or it's more of a lack of contract discussions being had between the Commanders and Terry McLaurin. He thinks he's owed a lot of money, and he really is owed a lot of money, because recently we've seen guys that are older players. Calvin Ridley, he's above 30. He just got signed to big money last season by the Tennessee Titans. Last year we also watched DJ Moore, who is an older wide receiver, get paid big money by the Chicago Bears. He's the highest paid wide receiver in the history of the Chicago Bears. His contract coming in just about $27.5 million per year. There's no doubt that Terry McLaurin thinks and rightfully knows that he deserves a number in that range. He is definitely someone who needs to get an upgrade in contract. The Commanders, they don't want to give it to him. He's under contract for one more year at about $23 million, which is a bargain to the point where it really has to get reworked. Terry McLaurin is going to, if he's not getting re-signed by the Commanders, he's going to be traded somewhere else where they are willing to pay him. But my guess is eventually the Commanders will pony up the money for Terry McLaurin. But bringing it back to the Jets, I know everyone is correct when they say we want to build out a young team and spend our draft picks on college players and younger guys to build that culture. What the New York Jets need to do is grab a bunch of young guys, and when those young guys are playing really well, that's when you go out and go spend your later draft picks on veterans. We're not in the position right now to be going out and spending draft picks on veteran players. The first step is we have to prove it on the field. Unfortunately, we have been great at winning off seasons, but then it hasn't been translating on the field when it comes in September, when it's time to actually play football. We have to get it done on the football field first, and then we can start thinking about trades in the future.
I agree. Look, I mean, if I'm being honest, I am a fan of Terry McLaurin. Matt, as someone who is a fantasy expert like you would know that he's a guy who, when a lot of people look at him in fantasy football, which is how a lot of people do check the stats of players, like I'm not just bringing this up for pure fantasy football reasons, is you see that he's a home run guy. It's a lot of all or nothings with McLaurin. There's very rarely that middle zone where he's putting up solid games. It's usually he's hitting home run touchdowns, getting a million targets and all that. But he is the number one target for a Commanders team that was a game away from the Super Bowl at the end of the day. I mean, it's hard to imagine, him going anywhere. I agree with you. I think Washington will decide, you know what, we're going to put up the money for him because really what other option do we have? Are we going to lose Jaden Daniels, his best receiver? That feels like a bad idea. And, I mean, you look at McLaurin's numbers. He had 1,096 yards, 13.4 yards per reception, 13 touchdowns. He had an excellent year last year with 82 receptions. The man was great. I mean, no doubting the man was great last year. He showed that he could be a number one wide receiver on a team that, again, was a game away from the Super Bowl and lost to the team that evidently won the Super Bowl. So the Commanders are good. All of a sudden, they're good. It's what shows what happens when you have a great quarterback compared to not a great quarterback. And with all that, McLaurin showed that he is that type of guy. Now, again, I agree the price is a lot. McLaurin has been good for a while now, since he showed up in 2019. And the fact that he's an old wide receiver, the fact that him and DJ Moore are now older wide receivers, it really does hurt my soul because they were just young wide receivers when we were in our college days.
Well, don't feel too bad about Terry McLaurin because he was never in the NFL. Yeah, in the NFL, he was never a young wide receiver.
For sure. But I hate that we're getting older, but that's not the point. The point is Terry McLaurin did make the Pro Bowl this year, second time in 3 years that he did it. He's shown a lot of talent, and obviously he's a great player, but at the end of the day, I kind of agree. Like, I don't see the reason to trade for him because then you're handcuffed to re-signing him. You have Garrett Wilson, who's your number one option. He had 101 receptions last year for 1,104 yards. He's going to get way more targets this year, or at least he should, in regards to the fact of when there's passing. Like, basically, I understand the Jets are a running team. It's not lost on me. But when it comes to Wilson, it's very much like he's not going to have to battle with his quarterback's best friend for targets. I imagine Garrett Wilson's going to get targeted like there's no tomorrow, and he's going to love it. He's going to have fun with it. And the Jets are we've said it before. Vegas knows they have us at 5.5 wins, which is not good at all. At the same time, we're seeing analysts, even today, some analysts, I forget his name, so that's wonderful. That's wonderful for you guys to hear that I forget his name and where he was talking on, so this means effectively nothing. But some analysts did put the Jets at 10-7 this season, so there are people who do believe in this team, and I mean, obviously he's going to say it, but if you ask Aaron Glenn, he believes in this team. If you ask anyone on the Jets, they do believe. I feel like going for a guy like Terry McLaurin screams the Jets of the Rodgers era and not this era's Jets.
That's a great point, but one point I do want to make is just because the New York Jets are going to be a run first and a run heavy team in 2025, that doesn't mean they're not going to go out and trade for receiving targets
Yeah.
like Terry McLaurin. We just watched last year the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl as a run first team, but they paid both their wide receivers in Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. They also they didn't go out and go get him recently, but they also have a pass catching vertical threat tight end in Dallas Goedert, and they paid one of the best receiving threats from the running back position in Saquon Barkley, if not the best receiving running back in the entire league. So we are going to have to go out and get passing targets for Justin Fields or whoever is the quarterback going forwards. Even if we are a run heavy team, you got to bring in a ton of talent if you want to win Super Bowls, and that has to be the New York Jets goal.
I 100% agree. And I do like that with Justin Fields are going to be a run-heavy team, but at the same time, I feel like we're a year out from moves like this. If everything goes well, assuming this thing works, what the Jets are planning, having this Mougey-Glenn duo that actually works, that actually brings in this culture that gets instilled within this team, and then from there, we start to see maybe not a winning season year one again, like Detroit, because that's who we're going to have to stay comparing ourselves to. But even if it's not a year one team where we're seeing, like, for instance, that video that went viral of, I believe the Lions were they were terrible. It was Dan Campbell's first season when they were atrocious. And Dan Campbell is hyping up. He's literally tearing up in the locker room because he's just proud of his team for winning this game. Because it's like, this is what we show, this is what we've been building all year. We're showing that this record doesn't define us, all that stuff. The Jets have a chance to be that team this year. And it feels like everything, say it goes the Lions' trajectory, which again, partially wishful thinking, but say it does, we're a year out from moves like this.
Absolutely. I'm sure if you could tell any Jets fans that you've came back from the future in 3 years and you are telling us that we blew a huge lead in the AFC Championship game and we're so close to going to the Super Bowl the same way the Lions were 2 years ago, I'm sure New York Jets fans would sign up for that, even if it meant 1 year in the a couple years before that AFC Championship game appearance, you had to go through a season where you were really bad and you earned a really high pick. People have to understand that this season for the New York Jets, a winning season is not just defined by wins and losses. It's defined by progress in the New York Jets organization. Yeah. Since Woody Johnson took over back in the early 2000s, the culture has been absolutely terrible. And that is the first thing that has to improve. Woody Johnson needs to take a step back, and the culture needs to take a huge step forwards. I am positive that Aaron Glenn is going to move that culture forwards. I can't say anything about Woody Johnson. He stayed out of the way so far, but we don't know how long that's going to last, and you never know what's going to happen with Woody Johnson. You don't know what he's going to do stupid, but you know he's going to do something stupid. But Aaron Glenn, when we were saying that this team is not going to win a lot of games, that's all we're saying. We're not saying it's going to be a bad season. It can still be a winning season for the Jets, even if they don't have a ton of wins on their record at the end of the season. There are other ways to win a season. The New York Jets have to make progress as a franchise, make progress as an organization, and figure out who the heck is our starting quarterback.
Also, at the same time, it feels like this is the first time since 2022 when Sauce and Garrett and Brees and Jermaine were all rookies, that it's we're looking at a year where it's yeah, we won 7-9, we didn't have a winning season necessarily, but it feels like we're moving in the right direction. That's what we're looking for this year. And I mean, to tie it into another New York sports team, this Jalen Brunson bobblehead doesn't have an arm or both his legs, but he does have his DoorDash still, and we felt this way with the Knicks years ago. So things do change. You bring the right people in, it's going to work. Guys, did we bring the right people in for Jets Digest? Let us know in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe if you are the right people, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, and go Jets.